Alright.
Here is a charge blade guide, you charging bastards. Oh boy, where to even start with this one? Let's start by saying that this weapon is almost as complicated as a woman. It's unbelievably complex getting into all the little things, and it's hard to even start describing what this thing can do and what combos you should use and what to focus on. But still, I'm gonna try to be as brief as possible, and I'm not gonna show you every possible combo because there's so many of them. You can combine these combos however the hell you want. I'm just gonna focus on the ones that matter the most, in my opinion. I haven't mastered this weapon yet because it requires a lot of practice and a lot of time which I don't have, but I do understand how this bloody thing works and what you should be focusing on. Charge blades got many functions. In short, you're gonna use sword and shield mode to charge your Phials, while you're gonna use X mode to dish insane amounts of damage. The trick here is to constantly be in sword mode unless you're sure you can pull off that X combo that does devastating damage. You can also block with the shield, and as I said, there are many properties that I'm gonna explain now in the training area. This thing is all about switching from sword to X and from X to sword. You always want to be in sword mode when fighting enemies and use X as your combo finisher to dish out enormous amounts of damage. You also have a shield and you can use the guard effectively as well. So these things got a lot of uses. Morphing from sword to X is done by pressing R1 plus triangle or R2 plus triangle depending on your button configuration. Immediately after that, if you press R1 when you're in the X mode, you will morph back to sword mode. Both of these moves, morphing to X and from X to sword, have blocking frames, which means for a brief moment you can block an attack. It requires a lot of practice to get this done, but I will get to that later on. I will give you the best possible version of it. That should be doable by everyone. Try to practice on your own, switching between X and sword. Remember, you can always do R1 plus triangle when you started with the sword combo and then go into an X combo, and you can always go back into a sword combo from an X combo if you press R1. That can lead to infinite chains, which are hard to pull off. Not hard, but really impossible, since X is really slow. You can see beneath the weapon durability icon empty Phials. These can be charged by simply attacking with triangle and circle button in sword mode and then pressing R1 plus circle when Phials change color. There are three colors: yellow that will fill 3 empty Phials, red color that will fill 5 empty Phials, and bright red, which means you've gone overboard and your weapon will start bouncing off an enemy, which is horrible. You cannot go into combo or anything like that. So you should always avoid that color. That means just stop attacking at appropriate time and press R1 plus circle. Even if you get to that bright red, simply press R1 plus circle to charge Phials and it's back to white. Phials give X attacks electric discharge. That means a lot more damage. Whenever you use circle button when wielding an X and also amped elemental discharge with triangle plus circle, it's gonna eat 1 Phial. So full 3 circle combo eats 3 Phials. You're gonna have to charge them back up. If you do these X attacks without Phials available, if all of them are empty, there will be no electric discharge, which means attacks will not be as near as good as with that bonus. These here are also your main X moves that you're gonna use. Triple circle when you switch to an X, although I never use this. I always use R1 plus triangle, then circle circle from sword stance. Amped elemental discharge is the most powerful attack of this whole weapon, and it's always something you should strive to do when enemy is incapacitated in any way, when it cannot move. This thing can also be upgraded to super amped elemental discharge, and that's the most devastating move that you can do. I'm gonna cover that later on. Amped elemental discharge, that is super amped elemental discharge, is the move that you always want to do with this weapon because it's by far the most devastating one. There are three ways how to do it. One is that triple circle combo that I've shown you already, but you should never do that combo by pressing circle 3 times. You should always do that combo when you're wielding a sword and then morphing into X mode by pressing R1 plus triangle and then 2 times circle. That will get you to amped elemental discharge. Second way is by pressing R1 plus triangle when you have sword equipped and then triangle plus circle. That will also lead you to amped elemental discharge, and it's the quickest way of doing so, which means this is the move that you're gonna use the most when you see an opening. Third way is by doing triple triangle plus circle combo. This is also done from the sword stance. Now let's talk about charging the shield, which will give you super amped elemental discharge ability. To charge a shield, simply get your Phials to maximum, fill them to maximum, and then do any kind of combo that will end with amped elemental discharge, but don't finish off that move. What you need to do is press R1 as soon as you've started amped elemental discharge to morph back into sword. That will charge the shield, as you can see that icon next to empty Phials now. When your shield is charged, it's got much better defense properties and also it can KO charging opponents at you when you block, as long as you have impact version of the charge blade. Now that the shield is charged, it will also do additional electric damage when you do shield thrust. That is done by doing triangle or circle attack with sword in hand and then pressing triangle plus circle. Now we get to the most devastating move for this weapon, which is super amped elemental discharge. It is only done when shield is charged first. Then you need to start filling your Phials, and depending on how many Phials you got full, it's gonna do a certain amount of damage. Obviously always try to go for full number because it's gonna do max damage that way. If all Phials are empty, then damage won't have any electric property to it, which makes it not that great. In between, I'm just doing combos on these three so that I show you how I charge Phials and also how to charge shield. It's good to have a recap of some kind. There's too much information for this particular weapon, so it's good to see some things multiple times. Super amped elemental discharge is actually amped elemental discharge, but only when shield is charged. That's it. So same combos apply to super amped elemental discharge. You can also charge the sword. That is done when shield is charged and you have some Phials full. At that point, you can start charging Phials and hold triangle button after you've started the animation for charging Phials. When timing is right, release it and your sword will now be charged. Now notice that sword is only charged for a small period of time, while shield is charged for a lengthy period of time. I think it's about 2.5 minutes, something like that. Honestly, while it sounds cool and everything that your sword gets additional electric discharge property, thing is, it's not that worth it. Damage will not be nearly as high as you want it to be with the sword anyway. Sword is only used to charge Phials, in my opinion, and it should never be used for anything else. The damage comes from X, period. It can be used though when you're fighting very fast enemies and you know that you're gonna have so much trouble hitting them even with the fastest X combo. Then you charge your sword and try to do some more damage that way. In my opinion, what you should do is master everything else before you start adding this to your playstyle. This should be done last, when you find yourself comfortable with all the other stuff this weapon can do. Now let's talk about some more advanced stuff. You've seen me do this combo multiple times already in the video. It's a simple combo in sword mode that fills your Phials very fast. It's done by holding circle button until you've charged an attack and then release it for a double attack. After that, follow with spinning sword slash with triangle. When you charge properly and release it at the proper time to do the double attack, you're gonna receive a rock steady effect. That means you won't be staggered in the middle of the attack. Sword spinning slash, on the other hand, at the end of its attacking frames got blocking frame. So in one simple combo like this one, you have rock steady and block. Obviously, relying on it is not that great because it's hard to pull off if you really want to pull it off, if you're counting on it, but it definitely helps when you're doing the combo to fill your Phials, simply because it gives you that extra security that you might block or not be staggered in a process. On top of that, you can continue with sword shield thrust and some triangle attacks and whatever you want to do until you get to that red Phial status. This can be also followed with triangle plus circle combo and many other stuff. I mean, the combinations here are pretty much limitless. One more important move that can be used to great effect, especially in sword mode and while you're trying to reach an enemy that is far away, is sliding attack that is done by moving left analog stick in the direction you want to slide, followed by a circle button. This can only be done mid-combo. This is a great way to cover the distance in the middle of a combo because this thing can be implemented into anything and it also can be followed by any of the moves that we already mentioned. Another cool thing about sliding attack is that it's also got block frame. I'm not even sure at what part this block frame is active, but I believe somewhere in between, something like that, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, I never blocked with this one. It's really hard to time it. Now that I've covered the starting combination that I usually do, that is hold down circle button and then follow with the spinning slash, and then you can continue with shield thrust or maybe more charge or whatever you want really. Whatever you see as a good outcome in that situation. I'm gonna talk about now what combos are the most devastating ones that you should always have at the back of your mind, ready to unleash it when the opportunity presents itself. Also note that you can charge your Phials by simply blocking your opponent's attacks. That will also change the color of the Phials, and then you just need to charge your Phial with R1 plus circle. So if you're up an aggressive opponent and you can't get any of the starting combos off, that's gonna help you get to that charging shield and then adding some more Phials to be ready for most devastating combos that we're gonna cover now. R1 plus triangle should be your most important move. It also gives you blocking property at the beginning of it. And it's a relatively easy block. That's what I was telling you earlier, that I'm gonna show you the best move to use as a block. This is the one. And it can also be continued into amped elemental discharge. Practice the blocking frames of this move. You can do it on the barrel in the training area, or you can go up against something like Barath that likes to charge at you constantly, and that's how you're gonna learn this move. From this point you have a couple of options. As I said, amped elemental discharge directly, or if you're confident you can pull off the full combo, press circle 2 times. That's gonna do additional move in between, and you're gonna finish off with an amped elemental discharge anyway. But it's a longer one. Another fantastic combo that you can always do, and you should always do it as your primary damaging combo when you can't pull off amped elemental discharge, is R1 triangle, then circle, and then R1 to get back to sword mode. It's a relatively fast combo that's gonna utilize the X, and then you're back in your sword stance that will help you defensively a lot more. Here is one lengthy combo that will charge your Phials, charge your sword, if you have your shield charged beforehand, and end with an amped elemental discharge. Absolutely ridiculous combo. It's hard to pull off on any kind of enemy that is not downed, so really even a downed enemy is troublesome because they will eventually get up, and this takes a lot of time. But I did pull it off a couple of times, to be honest, and it worked tremendously. There is also a shorter version where you can cut out charging the Phials and immediately go into condensed sword slash that will charge your sword, and then into triangle plus circle combo to end with an amped elemental discharge. That is really powerful and is best used when your Phials are already charged. Thing is, you can completely disregard these two combos because you can also always use just typical X combos that I've shown you earlier. It's just more of a showcase for advanced players if they want to play with it, and that's about it. Now that I bombarded you with the information and your head feels like a newborn child's one when its neck can't keep the head steady anymore, I'm gonna try to recap and simulate the fight against this wooden monster in front of me. All these combos and moves depend on the situation at the battlefield. And as always, timing is everything in this game. So learn your enemy's patterns, know when you can do what. Situation is this: we don't have any Phials, they are completely empty, shield is not charged. I'm gonna start the battle by doing forward slash that is done when weapon is sheathed. By simply moving and pressing the triangle button, we are gonna do a good distance covering move. Then continue immediately with charge double slash to change the color of our Phials to yellow, and then finish off with charge Phials. This is your basic combo that will charge Phials, and you can always pull it off. It's really fast. Or you can add some additional moves in between to get the color to red immediately and then charge Phials. That will give you 5 Phials. Now we are ready to charge our shield when we have 5 Phials full. To do it, do any kind of combo that's got amped elemental discharge, and when amped elemental discharge animation starts, you press R1 button to charge the shield. Now that shield is charged, you have two options. Either go for a lengthy combo that will immediately charge Phials and go for the super amped elemental discharge, or you can charge Phials by simply doing normal sword combos if you feel like you don't have time to pull off lengthy combos, and then when you're ready, and do any kind of X combo that I've shown you earlier. Only go for amped elemental discharge if you feel like you can pull it off. Against faster enemies, there's no way you're gonna pull it off unless they are down. Really, I can keep talking about this weapon for ages, because there's so much to cover. I was hoping I would be brief, but now as I see the timeline, it's fucking horrible. I couldn't keep it shorter. I want you guys to understand this weapon properly. I hope this video will help you out. In playing Charge Blade, it should. I think I really covered everything that matters here, and obviously that I've left a lot of things out that I don't think is that relevant, but maybe if I missed something that is really important, do post in comments, because more good info can never hurt. This video was pain in the arse to make, I'm telling you, especially with the language barrier. So I'm hoping you guys will understand everything that I was saying. If you have questions, do post in comments, I will try to answer them, and see you bastards soon. Now go practice.